Hello and welcome to Cinema Wellman. I'm your host, David, and today we're going to be hanging out with some of our closest cinematic friends. If you're a regular visitor to Cinema Wellman, you've heard me use the phrase, friend of Cinema Wellman, from time to time when talking about people we are particularly fond of. Well, we thought it would be fun to create our own little, Hall of Fame here to honor our dear friends who have made the movies so special to us over the years. Certain sports halls of fame have separate categories to honor all those involved with the sport on and off the playing surface. We like that idea, so we've decided to do the same thing. So here then are the wings of the FOCWHOF, the Friends of Cinema Wellman Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, whatever we're going to go with. We're going to have actresses, actors, directors, cinematographers, composers, costume designers, and editors. We decided not to differentiate between lead and supporting roles when it comes to the on-screen talent because no need for it for this project. Today's inaugural FOCW group will feature one person from 7 of the 8 categories. Now, that's because directors are being treated a little differently because of our Director's Corner series, and there's another one of those coming next week. We figured if you get your own episode there, you automatically are included in this group of friends. There are also a few people who were grandfathered in because they already had entire episodes devoted to them or close to it, proving that they are true friends of Cinema Wellman. And those friends are actress Tilly Losh, actor Gary Oldman, actor Jack Lemmon, director Alfred Hitchcock, and director Stanley Kubrick. Tilly Losh will always be our special friend here at Cinema Wellman because she was the focus of our very first episode. We love Gary Oldman, and he plays everyone, so we did an episode on a bunch of the real people he has portrayed over the years. We recently spoke in a little depth about the great Jack Lemmon during our latest And Introducing episode that featured people with the And Introducing credit who later went on to win Oscars. And both Alfred Hitchcock and Stanley Kubrick were celebrated earlier in our Director's Corner. We did a baker's dozen for Hitch and what we consider the Mount Rushmore of Stanley Kubrick films, although I was told that I was wrong about a couple of those, which is fine. Those 5 people have been grandfathered in and can be considered the first 5 friends of Cinema Wellman. Today we will enshrine 8 more film friends. We'll do one more introduction this season in October, and then it'll be a once-a-year occurrence taking place somewhere around the Oscars. With each new inductee, I'll attempt to explain what it was about them and their craft that led them to this exalted friend of Cinema Wellman status. You won't get a biography here since you can look that up on the interwebs. I will share with you some of my favorite films of each person in case you'd be interested in screening some of them on your own. Today we have 2 actresses, 2 actors, an editor, a cinematographer, a composer, and a costume designer. These 8 artists and their work have helped to create the movie fanatic that I am, so this is kind of a thank you to them. We will begin with the costume designer. Now, that sentence could also be spoken with an accent on a different word. We will begin with the costume designer, Edith Head. If you don't think you know Edith Head, you kind of do if you saw The Incredibles, because she was the inspiration for Edna in The Incredibles. Looks just like her. There is no doubt that Edith Head is the GOAT of costume design. During her career, she earned 35 Oscar nominations and had 8 wins. Her impressive filmography includes All About Eve, The Sting, Sabrina, The 10 Commandments, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and 20 episodes of Gilligan's Island. Didn't 3 of the 7 castaways wear the same damn thing every single episode? I'm just checking. But Ginger and the Howells, boy, they wore the hell out of stuff. Costume design is extremely challenging, whether the film is a sword and sandal biblical epic, a period piece from a past era, or something set in the future. You may think that doing costume design for a film set in the current time, whenever it was made, would be easier, but there are challenges that come with that as well. When I worked on The Woundwood, now titled The Arborist, they changed the title. It's now titled The Arborist. I still haven't seen it. It's still not out. I would occasionally need to escort Hudson to the costume area, and it was amazing. Each one of his outfits was tagged with the day of the week according to the script, and there were some sets of identical outfits, one clean and one dirty or distressed. And that was a small movie. I can't imagine what it would have been like to run costumes for the 10 Commandments. There were thousands of people in that movie. They used to do 2 costume design Oscars, one for black and white films and one for color films. In 1949, Edith Head won both. All hail the GOAT. Next, this is another full-fledged GOAT, composer John Williams. He composed music for over 120 films and earned 54 Oscar nominations. Jaws, Jurassic Park, Star Wars, some Harry Potter movies, Schindler's List, E.T., The Extraterrestrial, Indiana Jones, Earthquake, The Poseidon Adventure, The Towering Inferno, The Iger Sanction. The list is seemingly endless, and there are so many familiar tunes we know from movies for which we have John Williams to thank. Williams' 5 wins were for Schindler's List, E.T., The Extraterrestrial, Star Wars, the first one, the real one, Jaws, and Fiddler on the Roof. Williams retired last year, and he left an indelible mark on movie music. He will always be remembered as one of the all-time greats at his craft, and Cinema Wellman thanks him for all the great tunes over the years. Next, cinematographer Roger Deakins. All you need to know about Roger Deakins' inclusion in the Friends of Cinema Wellman Ring of Honor, or whatever we're going to call it, is that he shot 12 movies for the Coen brothers. With how I feel about the Coen brothers, their go-to cinematographer seems like a no-brainer for induction today. When I was at film school at BU, I guess I thought I wanted to direct movies at some point. I don't recall. I was way overmatched at film school. I didn't even belong there. What I should have concentrated on, not that it would have guaranteed a post-graduation job, is cinematography. What an amazing job to be able to look through your camera's viewfinder and see some of the best movies ever made as they were being made. There are over 75 films in Deakins' filmography, including some of my favorites: The Shawshank Redemption, Fargo, The Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men, Skyfall, Blade Runner 2049, and 1917. And A New Order video. To date, Roger Deakins has earned 16 Oscar nominations, has won 2, Blade Runner 2049 and for 1917. Next, we will induct friend, editor, Verna Fields. Verna Fields edited Jaws. And that's enough in our book. All kidding aside, Fields only had 18 films to her editing credits, but one of them is Jaws, and she won an Oscar for that. Does that make her the best editor in film history? No. Does that get her friend of Cinema Wellman status? Absolutely. Hannah tells me over and over that this is my thing, and I make all the rules, and no one cares other than me, so Verna is in. Not that I need to defend my friends, but Fields also cut Haxel Wexler's great political drama Medium Cool, which is set at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. And she worked with Peter Bogdanovich on both Paper Moon and What's Up, Doc. Fields edited American Graffiti for George Lucas as well, and then Jaws with Steven Spielberg. One of the best shots in Jaws, jump scare, was filmed in Verna Fields' swimming pool. And it just doesn't get much better than that. Welcome, Verna. Next up are the friends on the other side of the camera, and we're going to start with actor Edward G. Robinson. Rico! Now, most people know the great Edward G. Robinson from the gangster films that made him famous. Everyone Everyone has their own Edward G. Robinson impression. See? That's what you do. See? Uh, I don't know. He did that a couple times, I guess. If you think Robinson was only good at playing mugs and gangsters, you'd be very wrong. As an accomplished character actor, Robinson played all sorts of roles, including some very good comedic roles, which you wouldn't expect. You also wouldn't expect him to play a loving, doting father, as he did in Our Vines Have Tender Grapes. Some of my favorite films of Robinson's are Larceny Incorporated. He plays a gangster who opens a luggage shop next to a bank, and they're going to drill into, they're going to burrow into the bank and rob the bank. But he gets so wrapped up in running this luggage store. I love it. It's hysterical. Key Largo, where he is like heavy duty gangster opposite Humphrey Bogart. The Cincinnati Kid, where he plays cards with Steve McQueen. Soylent Green. Thank you. And the 10 Commandments. How can I not mention that? Now, my all-time favorite Edward G. Robinson film is Double Indemnity, where he plays insurance investigator Barton Keyes. That role is so complex, and Keyes is such a fun character to watch in action as he tries to unravel the insurance fraud/murder. He's always several steps ahead of everyone else, and it's this little man that tells him everything. And he's always smoking those cigars. Robinson was the recipient of an honorary Oscar, which means they absolutely blew it. He never even got a nomination. How is that possible? And I can't talk about Edward G. without, this is for my friend Mark, who I used to teach with years ago, and we always used to laugh about Edward G. Robinson in the 10 Commandments. Where's the Messiah now? As the gangster. He was the Pharaoh. Amazing. Next, we have Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's hard to believe that Philip Seymour Hoffman has already been gone for 10 years. What he left behind was an amazing cinematic legacy that saw him earn 4 Oscar nominations and win 1 Oscar. Hoffman won a Best Actor award for Capote. His other 3 nominations were all supporting roles, and while he certainly could handle a lead role or a co-lead, Doubt, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, I think that his strength was a supporting actor. His list of films is quite impressive, and here are just a few of my favorites. Hard Eight, Twister, Boogie Nights, The Big Lebowski, State and Maine, Almost Famous, 25th Hour, The Savages, and as I already mentioned, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. A lot of those films have pretty large ensemble casts, but the character played by Philip Seymour Hoffman stands out in all of them. He was extremely talented, so he could play all types of characters. He could do evil, he could do corrupt, but he mostly played very human characters who were vulnerable, insecure, and flawed. His portrayal of Scotty in Boogie Nights is so sweet. Even think about it, I kind of tear up. He's so anxiety-ridden. He seems insecure being in his own skin. When he makes a pass at a male character and is rebuffed, you feel absolutely devastated for him. He goes to his car and he's calling himself an idiot and he's hitting himself in the head. And it's just, in an extremely depressing film, his character, even though he's troubled, is a small bit of light. And it's a relatively small part, but The Big Lebowski just wouldn't be the same without him. Oh, we're all so proud of her. I miss him very much. Next, actress Agnes Moorehead. Most people know Agnes Moorehead from the television show Bewitched, where she played a literal witch of a mother-in-law in Dora. That's definitely the first time I had ever seen her. I watched Bewitched because I was in love with Elizabeth Montgomery, and I was rewarded with my discovery of Agnes Moorehead. In my mind, Agnes Moorehead equaled Endora, period, and I was okay with that. Then I saw Citizen Kane, and the young woman playing Charlie's mom looked kind of familiar. It was Agnes Moorehead, and she was phenomenal in that small yet important role, which I found out, I didn't know this, it was her first screen credit. Amazing. Since then, I've sought out as many of her films as I could find, and I'm never, disappointed in her. Agnes was amazing at playing cold, distant women who were also intelligent and, if needed, unscrupulous and conniving. Yummy. Her characters would certainly tell you where the dog died. She was a 4-time Oscar nominee, but unfortunately was never a winner. Some of my favorites, along with Citizen Kane, are Dark Passage, Johnny Belinda, Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte, and let's not forget, it's not a movie, but that episode of The Twilight Zone that she did. That's one of the best Twilight Zone episodes ever. She has got no lines. I know I've spoken about that episode on this show before. It just amazing. And that leaves us with one more friend to induct today, and that is actress Thelma Ritter. 6-time Oscar nominee, including 4 straight years, 1951 and 1954, with a Best Supporting Actress nomination. That's impressive. And 0 wins. Come on, Academy. 3 egregious errors on this list alone. Edward G. Robinson, 0 nominations. Agnes Moorehead, 4 nominations and no wins. Thelma Ritter, 6 nominations and no wins. And Kevin Costner has 2 Oscars. Merde. In any event, Thelma Ritter is worthy of that old saying, look up blank in the dictionary and you see so-and-so's picture. Well, in my dictionary, if you look up character actress, you'll see Thelma Ritter's picture. She was absolutely phenomenal in pretty much everything in which I've ever seen her. And I have another one set. I'm DVRing it. I just DVR'd it today on TCM, and she plays a matchmaker. Can't wait for that. Her timing and delivery were, as my friend Larry, also a big fan of Thelma, as Larry would say, chef's kiss. Rear Window is one of my all-time favorite films, and Thelma Ritter is without a doubt one of the best parts of that entire film. She definitely had some great writing behind her, and I'm sure screenwriters were writing parts specifically for Thelma Ritter. Her superpower was the wisecrack, and it was always delivered with that little smirk smile. Her back and forth with Jimmy Stewart, not a fan, in Rear Window was so wonderfully natural. You'd think these characters knew each other for years, even though she's just nursing him through a broken leg. Other Thelma Ritter favorites include All About Eve. Now that's a must-see. If you haven't seen that, get on board. Write that down. The Mating Season and A Hole in the Head. If you're lucky enough to be watching an old movie and you see Thelma Ritter's name in the opening credits, you're in for a treat. Well, that's a wrap from here at Cinema Wellman for our first Friends of Cinema Wellman induction ceremony. I'm sorry I didn't dress up. As previously mentioned, we'll do this again in October and recognize some more Friends of Cinema Wellman. We hope you join us again next week when we invite Wes Anderson into Cinema Wellman's Director's Corner, automatically earning him Friends of Cinema Wellman status. Wes Anderson. Well, he won't be here. We'll just be ranking all of his films. Hope to see you then. And until the Wes Anderson Love Fest, which is what it's going to be, take care.